You ever found yourself in this position where you're watching one cooking show and you end up watching 20 of those, and all those chefs are just somehow, they just know every little thing on how to cook? These people are cooking the most lavish dinners, and I'm sitting there like, I don't even have cooking oil. So I'm gonna start something new. I'm gonna start the average man cooking show, average person cooking show. And it's gonna be about someone who can't cook at all. Just cook. It's very simple.
Okay, so I think a better setup is on the table here. Welcome to the Simple Cooking Show. Today we're going to be cooking shrimp and rice. 2 ingredients that you need is shrimp and rice, but honestly it's not going to taste as good unless you have salt and, spices and stuff. Alright, in terms of what kind of rice you want, honestly it doesn't matter. It's like your preference. This basmati rice is just kind of thin and fluffy. In terms of shrimp, what you want to get, you could get the full shell on, but I hate taking the shell off. I'd rather have a bunch of shrimp without having to put the effort to eat it. Then you need some salt. Any salt will do. In my case, it's those iodine table salt. And of course, I know earlier I said I don't have cooking oil. That's true, I don't. I have the spraying. I guess technically it's cooking oil, but it's basically cooking spray. Whatever the hell that is. I bought this at a cottage trip once. It was just a leftover item. Alright, that pretty much covers it all, other than pots and pans. That pretty much covers all the basics for our ingredients. Let's move on to the cooking station. Alright, so when it comes to pouring rice, a lot of people go like, you want to have a cup. They'll measure everything in cups. Like life is that precise. Yo, just put in however much rice you want to put in. And then once it looks like you have enough rice that you're going to want to eat, then that's it. Just stop putting rice. And if there's too much rice, you can always store it. Carbohydrates like rice or bread, they're just good for storage because you can eat anything with them. So in my case, I got this much rice. Give you a little look-see. What you want to do is, a lot of people wash the starch off. Honestly, I don't understand. To me, it doesn't really make a difference. I just pour water because washing the starch off just takes so much longer, in my opinion. You want to just pour the water. Like in my case, like what I'm doing right now is just, it doesn't matter if, there's bacteria in your hands or something like that, because you're going to cook it. It's going to steam. So let me just pour some more water on this rice. So the secret here, from all the internet videos that I've been watching on cooking shows, is that what you want is so simple to make rice. All you want to do is put your finger into the water, and if it covers up to your nail, then that's good enough. So in my case, like you can see that I'm kind of doing it up to my nail, the edge of my nail, but at the same time it's creating these holes. So I'm like, wait a minute, is this supposed to fucking do that shit? Alright, let me try one more time. Yeah, I think it's still making holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a bit more water. Alright, done. Alright, let's go back to the station. You want to cook it at the highest possible temperature, because what's going to happen is, because there's so much water, the heat is just going to start slowly boiling the water. Nothing's going to happen to the rice. It's not going to burn or anything like that. The first thing that's going to go is the water's going to start boiling. So even though I put it at 5 over here, you want to keep it at 6 or whatever the highest temperature is. Now you want to keep cooking it until it starts boiling. Like those bubbles, when you see those bubbles going, then you just change the heat to low and you put a lid on it. In my case, I got this transparent lid, but you can put a plate, you can put whatever the hell you want. You want to light the skillet. You want to get that started. And also move any plastic out of the way, because what happens is they don't go together. It creates this horrible smell. I'm just going to spray the skillet with some of that cooking spray. At this point, you should actually be putting oil into the skillet, because what you want to do is you want to kind of fry the shrimp, but that's not going to happen right now. The reason you want to put at least a bit of oil is because otherwise it sticks to the pan and then it burns and then your fire alarm goes off. And the problem with smoke alarms is it takes a good 5 minutes of really loud noise, and all your neighbors are like, yo, that guy does not know how to cook. So if you want to save yourself all that embarrassment and all that judgment, then just put some cooking oil. All right, the shrimp goes in. Now the first thing that started happening is it started smoking. But see, here's the trick. It's not smoking. This is water vapor. So shrimp has a lot of, in fact, all meats have a ton of water. So you want to kind of get that out of the food, especially in this case the shrimp, because once it starts cooking, it starts leaking those juices. Now you see that I put salt over the shrimp after putting it in the pan. And I saw this in a chef video once where the guy basically said you want to make this shrimp sweat. Now if you put salt on any kind of raw meat, basically what happens is it leaks water. Whatever you put salt on, any raw meat that you put salt on, it's gonna leak water. Why that happens, I have no idea. It's like a scientific thing that happens. But the chefs know this, and so to work with the dish. This is the most annoying thing about shrimp or any individual. The smaller the creature, the more pieces there are to cook, the more individual effort you have to put into each single one. There's this threshold where, like if it's spaghetti, then it becomes this one whole thing. But when it comes to these things, each of them has to be treated as one, which kind of sucks because that means when it comes time to turn it, you have to turn each of them individually. And I don't know if you noticed, but you can see the shrimp are starting to sweat. All right, now it's time to flip the shrimp. I'm just going to show you the whole process because every chef that I see, they'll just do it like magic as if it takes 2 seconds. But the reality is it takes a good whole minute or even longer. So I just tested one shrimp out. You can see how it's starting to turn like red-ish. In this case, it's orange-ish. So let me just cover the whole screen with my hand and you can't see anything. That's the best way to go about it. All right, much better. Now let's take a look at, see how it's got that red color going. That's literally your indication. All you have to do when it comes to cooking shrimp is make it turn red on one side and then flip them over. And then you can see here it's individual. Like if they ever invented a machine which could like flip the shrimp for you, then whoever invented that is going to be the world's first trillionaire, I guarantee you. Because I don't think it's even humanly possible to do that unless you had a double skillet. It doesn't matter. Anyway, as you can see, you can struggle with. As you can see, there's some struggle with some. There's some struggle with some. There's some struggle with some shrimp. Some struggle with some shrimp. It's like a tongue twister. All right, let me try to poke this tail out. For whatever reason, I have no idea. And when it doesn't come out, let me just give up on it. All right, let me just move around all those shrimp, pretend like nothing just happened. See how much water is leaking out of the pan, and that's all from the shrimp. And see how it doesn't look like water, it looks like this murky like mixture of shrimp juices and water. And that's literally what it is. That's flavored, it's like a broth. It's like a shrimp broth that's cooking. And right now you can see little bubbles going. You want to have these bubbles going because essentially what you want to do is you want to evaporate all that water. All right, let me check on the rice real quick. Oh, all that steam goes in. You shouldn't really open the pan of the pot in general, the lid of the pot immediately because you're losing all that steam. But if you give it 10-15 minutes, then feel free to do it because it's on low heat. It really doesn't affect much. And if the top's cooked, then really what's happening is you're letting the starch on the bottom dry out. But generally, it's pretty much cooked at this point. So what I'm going to do, if you can see it on the side, I'm moving away the rice. I'm going to move the rice away, go back to the shrimp. Alright, I have with me this thing that I had from the international section of the supermarket. Sherwood red curry. Let me slap all of that in. So the second you put in something that's way different temperature, way cooler than the shrimp itself, what's going to happen is you're going to completely cool the pan. So you want to have it as high of a heat as possible. Because again, what we're doing right now isn't really cooking anymore. We're just getting rid of all this water so that the sauce gets thicker and thicker. Anyway, I'm just moving the shrimp around. Completely unnecessary step. You don't even have to do this part. You can just let it simmer. If anything, you can just lower the heat a bit. If you keep it at a high heat, you want to stay by the shrimp because you don't want to overcook it. The last thing you want is burning. See, at this point, you have some time to kill. So I like to turn the lights off and get really high. But you can kind of do anything. You can read a book. You can stare at the window. You can stare at your food that's cooking. Alright, let's check back on the food real quick. Okay, so let's take a look. It looks like it's pretty much done. Alright, so the bubbling is still happening, which means it's still boiling off some of the water, but I feel like, just to me, a lot of people like more thicker a lot of people like a thicker consistency, but I prefer, this is fine to me, in my opinion. But it's your preference at this point. You can let it ride, let it go as far as becoming dry. That's a really risky thing. You don't want this pan to go dry, trust me. Alright, let's take a look at the rice now. It's been steaming in again. See, even after I remove the fucking thing on top, the more dry your rice can be, the better, because especially if you have a sauce. And conversely, if you don't have a sauce, you still want your rice to be dry. You don't want wet rice, trust me. Alright, there you have it. Time to plate this shrimp and rice dish that I made. Slap some rice on. And that's that. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to smash that like button. And also hit that subscribe button. Because seriously, it means nothing to you. It's just a red button. But to me, it's literally my world. I just refresh this page every few seconds. Every day. Yeah, I don't usually make these kind of videos. This is a first of its kind. If you're interested in what kind of videos I really make, just keep watching.
Are you alone where you are? Are you high right now? Are you trying to control what you feel, but you don't know how? I'm the shadow in your alleyway, in your photo on the blurry face. No one knows what a thing you made of me, what you take from me. Don't need any time to think it through. Wanna know it doesn't feel human when it's with you. Oh.